welcome to the program. This is Vivica Williams, and you're watching Head to Head. Today, we want to look back at Ukraine's successes, setbacks, and potential wins in 2007 regarding microeconomics. And we will be joined in the studio today by Mykhailo Titarchuk. He's the Deputy Minister of Economic Development and Trade of Ukraine. Thank you very much for being with us today, Mykhailo.
Good evening. Thanks for invitation, and first of all, I would like to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Oh, it's been a Happy New Year and Merry Christmas for all of us.
Yeah, for all.
Tell us, let's start talking a bit on this note then about some of the successes and things that have worked out very well for Ukraine in regards to the economics within the country.
Thank you for such professional question. Ministry of Economic Development and Trade, so we in charge for macroeconomic situation in the country. And on behalf of my ministry, I can say that sustained macroeconomic situation is positive. As you know, just some details, since 2014, we did have quite negative situations. GDP, it was -6%, 2015 was -9%, and in 2016 we succeed, we got macroeconomic stabilization. So we got GDP positive 2.3.
And
it was many factors. We lost temporary Crimea. Yes. There was a problem on the east with the Donetsk and Lugansk regions. So, and in this case, now for the last 9 months, we have 2.3% GDP, but expecting until this year 1.8. In total, we planned. Actually, this is the first time when the government adopted action plan for the next 3 years. So based on our analytic and our forecast, so next year, 2018, has to be 3%. Based on Moody's statistics, analytics has to be 3.5. So everything is growing, and I don't know any other country who was in such a situation like ours, having war, lost a territory, half of industrial potentiality, but macroeconomic situation and macroeconomic stabilization, you know, you see it's positive.
And growing. And also, how does this affect the average person? I know there's been, for example, growth in real wages for the majority of Ukrainians. So what other types of things are we seeing from this positive growth?
What is important for Ukrainians is stability. It's 100%. And what the government is doing, first of all, we're seriously working on increasing the salaries. So the minimum salaries for this year was approved by the kind of ministers, but it was initiated by our Prime Minister, Mr. Groisman. So in local currency, it's 3,200 hryvnia was the minimum salary. Now we plan from 2018, it's going to be 3,723 hryvnia. And also we reviewed completely, we made many reforms on medical, on pension reform. It doesn't link to Ministry of Economy, but we're inside.
But and this also helps with the economy. When we have these increases, we have healthier people, this is going to have a big effect on the micro economy as well.
Also one of the serious sectors is export. So in 2014, we've been in quite terrible situation. 80% of exports was linked to Russian Federation. Right. Now what we have 40% is European Union, then we have India, then we have Russian Federation. But Russian Federation is 9.5. So you see it's quite a big difference. Plus our exports for the last year, it has been really increased. So on 20% compared with the last year. And if we compare with European Union, we have also 25.9. Imports, it's also increased. But what we're doing, it's more industrial machines. So when you grow your economy, you have to think properly on your industrial, not revolution, but industrial modernization.
Correct. And in addition with modernization, I've learned or heard that there's trying to be a move away from just being outsourced or to more innovation, more creation, research and development within Ukraine as well. Has this also been playing a major role in 2017, or are you looking that it will really step up next year?
Actually, the minister quite seriously considering that digital economy, this is the future. This is actually what we need for our economy. Because when you implement innovations inside all sectors, agribusiness, industrial sector, so you can increase the GDP on 10%. And what we see, this is the future, and we seriously now working on the concept. It's like digital agenda for the next 3 years how we can improve almost all sectors of our economy. Because without innovations, you can't move forward.
Absolutely. And in terms of legislation, there needs to be legislation that eases this process. So what's been the work on this and this part?
Okay, on this part, we do have some also quite good friends in Verkhovna Rada, in our parliament, because everybody understands, okay, government can create any draft bill, but the last stage, last word is has to be approved with the parliament members. So, and we have also quite innovative parliament members who's also thinking about digital economy, who is also thinking about digitalization of our country, and it's a long process. So,
absolutely,
from my experience, for example, from the start, where you're trying to create a law and then to pass to Verkhovna Rada and then to wait for 226 votes, it can last for 1 year.
Right.
But it has to be proper law, because also when we talk about success and all investments also increase in our country, we also have to think about IPR, so intellectual property.
Right.
So in this case, we also have quite good success. We have a IPR concept. We have now already 4 laws are already submitted to Verkhovna Rada, especially collective management, which is very sensitive, and let's say our friends from United States, from European Union, they've been waiting for that law, I don't know, maybe for 15 years. And recently, on 20th of December, it was approved by the government. So in terms of legislative part, we're trying to work really hard, but we need a proper, because when the parliament adopted the law, then you have to think how you implement.
Exactly. And also there's been some concern. You talked about intellectual property laws, and you know, even the United States started more than a century ago with being, as one expert told me, one of the biggest thieves of intellectual property. And once you saw that boom in Silicon Valley and this move towards innovation and creation, yes, the United States became one of the biggest protectors of intellectual property. So we hope to see this in Ukraine in the same way, this move towards innovation.
We're working on it. It's not easy part. I'm in intellectual property sphere for 1 year, and I can tell you it's not only collective management, it's actually everything. It's how you can to secure the rights, copyrights, then patents. And I can tell you an example, iPhone. The cost from the iPhone, 45% is IPR, and then the technology. So you can imagine what is the price.
Absolutely. So let's talk a bit about some things that may not have worked out as well, or maybe have some controversy regarding them. So, for example, there was a law that was recently passed called Buy Ukraine, Pay Ukrainians. That led to a bit of controversy.
Okay. On behalf of Ministry of Economy, we don't support that law, that draft bill. First of all, okay, the name sounds nice, but in general, based on our statistics, you know, there is a system Prozoro.
Yes.
So where you can, everything is clear, understandable, and transparent. And we checked how many Ukrainian companies won for the last year. So it was 99%. So
what's the point of this?
Yeah, what's the point? And
right.
No, we know the point.
All right.
And actually, what we're afraid with the new law, so we can destroy transparency and we can more create corruption sins. So this is our point. So,
is there a thought that there can be something to mitigate the law, to either have it amended or not put into effect?
Okay, first of all, let them get 226 votes.
And let's hope that they're going to take some advice from some of the ministries that have some concerns.
Exactly. I mean, the point is, when you put a nice name, people are listening and they're thinking that somebody is selling not Ukrainian goods, not Ukrainian products, that factory is not producing Ukrainian stuff, but that's not true. So every time you have to put statistics.
Absolutely.
And my point is, it has to be some maybe debates, round tables, and every part has his opinion.
Right. And what other things maybe didn't work out so well in this year, but there's some hope that they could be improved?
If you talk in terms of economics, I can tell you we do have some inflation process of For the last 9 months we had 12.5, and we're expecting until the end 13.4. But there are some factors which really influenced. But if we're going to go back to the past, 2015, inflation was more than 40%.
Absolutely. But we're now.
So especially the biggest number for export is agribusiness, and this year we do have some problems with the weather conditions. Okay, so it's a poor harvest. Second point that the prices for some goods in the world were really increased. So it means most of the biggest producers, Ukrainians, they prefer to export instead of selling inside. So it was.
So this increases the price. Requires more imports, increases the prices of products in the
market.
But
in general, we're expecting for the next years decreasing for inflation. Yeah.
And what are they doing to help solve this or lower the rate of inflation?
In this case, as we're at the end of the year, so we can't do anything. The only thing what we have to increase our export possibilities. So we have to produce more products with added value, instead of selling, for example, grains.
And this is what we come back to, that idea of with innovation and with Ukraine really marketing itself and actually creating its own products.
Exactly.
Right.
And also we see one of the part which can really help Ukraine. Recently we adopted the concession law. It's in general 4 laws, and concession it's a public-private partnership.
So we're going to hopefully see some great things coming out of this
infrastructure projects. Just some statistics. Turkey invested 120 billions on a concession basis, public partnership, and Europe for the last year they signed 69 agreements for 12 billion euros.
So we can only have some good hope for what's coming for next year.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Today we spoke with Mykhailo Titarchuk, Deputy Minister of Economic Development and Trade of Ukraine. Thank you very much for joining us.